Says the RVs parked in his neighborhood are parked there illegally, blocking traffic and forcing pedestrians out onto a busy road.
In 2025, the bottom didn't just fall out of the economy, it vanished. 750,000 Americans lost their jobs. Rents exploded. Families who once felt safe now sleep in cars and RVs. Entire states are buckling under the pressure. And what's coming next is even worse than anyone expected. Today, we break down exactly how America reached this breaking point and why millions now have nowhere left to go. In 2025, America crosses a breaking point as more than 750,000 workers lose their jobs in less than 10 months, marking the fastest employment collapse since the 2008 recession. What makes this crisis different is where the layoffs are happening. The damage has spread beyond tech companies into manufacturing, trucking, logistics, hospitality, construction, warehousing, and retail. Industries that most Americans depend on for stable, middle-class income. When factories producing RVs, cars, appliances, and building materials shut down or scale back, communities lose their largest employers overnight. The trucking industry alone accounts for more than 50,000 layoffs, driven by freight slowdowns, bankrupt carriers, and rising fuel and insurance costs. Retail giants continue closing locations, wiping out thousands of low-income jobs every month. Tech companies quietly cut another 120,000 positions as artificial intelligence adoption accelerates. The ripple effects are immediate. Families living paycheck to paycheck suddenly face eviction. Mortgage delinquencies increase by 15 to 22%, and more than 1 million Americans fall behind on rent by at least 30 days. States that relied heavily on manufacturing, tourism, or construction see local tax revenue drop sharply. The layoffs don't just remove income, they erase stability, health insurance, and the ability to stay housed. For many, losing a job instantly becomes losing their home, forcing them into RVs, cars, or couch surfing as their only remaining lifeline. The layoffs expose a brutal truth. Some states simply aren't equipped to help residents during economic collapse. Places with low unemployment benefits, strict requirements, and limited social programs face breakdowns first. States like Nevada, Arizona, Florida, Texas, Colorado, Oregon, and Tennessee offered minimal protections even before the crisis. In these regions, unemployment checks average only $250 to $350 per week, far below the rising cost of rent, groceries, and gas. As 2025 progresses, these states experience the fastest surges in homelessness because residents run out of savings within 3 to 6 weeks of losing work. Emergency housing programs are overwhelmed. Shelters in Nevada begin turning people away as early as March. Florida reports a 40% increase in families seeking aid. Colorado and Oregon, already dealing with massive homelessness before layoffs, see tents and RV encampments triple in just months. Because these states rely heavily on tourism, hospitality, or seasonal work, once layoffs hit, there is no fallback industry to absorb unemployed workers. State budgets spiral. Tax revenue collapses while demand for assistance skyrockets, forcing officials to cut funding for addiction services, mental health programs, veterans housing, and rental assistance. As support vanishes, people who lose their jobs have almost no path back to stability. This is why entire states appear to collapse, not due to one event, but because safety nets built too thin finally tear under historic pressure. Despite mass layoffs, rent prices do not fall. Instead, 2025 sees rental costs jump another 20 to 35% in major cities across the United States. This happens because housing availability has collapsed. Construction delays, high interest rates, stalled developments, and investor-owned units keep supply low even as demand stays high. In cities like Denver, Phoenix, Nashville, Orlando, Seattle, and Austin, one-bedroom apartments routinely cost $1,800 to $2,400 per month, while average household income shrinks due to layoffs. Even smaller cities like Boise, Spokane, and Tulsa see similar spikes, pushing working-class families out. The math simply doesn't work anymore. A person receiving $300 per week in unemployment cannot cover $2,000 rent, even with savings. As evictions rise, landlords turn units into short-term rentals or corporate leases, further reducing affordable options. By mid-2025, eviction filings increased by 35 to 50% compared to the previous year. Over 1.2 million renters fall behind on payments for the first time since the pandemic. Many families try to relocate to cheaper states, but even traditionally affordable areas like Alabama, Indiana, and Ohio see cost increases due to sudden population influx. With nowhere to go, many renters move into RVs, vans, cars, or shared motel rooms. Rising rent becomes not just a financial issue, it becomes the direct cause of a new class of working homeless Americans who still have jobs but cannot afford a home. By 2025, America sees the largest explosion in vehicle-based homelessness in modern history. More than 850,000 people now live in cars, vans, or RVs, double the number from 2022. This includes families with children, seniors on fixed incomes, and laid-off workers who cannot afford rent but still need transportation to search for work. RV parks fill up, Walmart parking lots overflow, and cities begin enforcing stricter laws against overnight parking, forcing people to move constantly. A used RV that once cost $5,000 to $8,000 now sells for $12,000 to $20,000 because demand has skyrocketed. Many families who lose their homes buy old RVs as a desperate last line of shelter. But once inside this lifestyle, expenses continue. Fuel, propane, repairs, campground fees, generator costs, and rising insurance premiums push people deeper into poverty. Cities like Denver, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Portland, and Los Angeles report 3 times increases in RV encampments in a single year. Police departments also report towing more RVs than ever, some states exceeding 10,000 tows in the first half of the year alone. When an RV is towed, the owner often loses everything inside: identification, medication, tools, clothing, and sometimes pets. Vehicle homelessness becomes the fastest-growing form of homelessness in the country because it offers temporary safety but no real path out. It represents the collapse of traditional housing and the rise of survival-based living. The United States enters 2025 with one of the worst housing shortages in decades. Construction slows dramatically as builders cancel or delay projects due to high material costs, worker shortages, and interest rates that make financing nearly impossible. As a result, the country is short more than 4.5 million affordable units, with many regions having less than a 2-month housing supply compared to the healthy standard of 6 months. Developers shift focus toward luxury builds, leaving low and middle-income workers with nothing new to rent or buy. Mortgage rates hovering around 7 to 8% price out first-time buyers completely, leading to a 35% drop in home sales. Homeowners who might have sold refuse to list because they don't want to lose their low interest rates. This freezes the housing market, reducing movement and eliminating available inventory. Meanwhile, institutional investors buy up thousands of homes in states like Georgia, Texas, Arizona, and Tennessee, converting them into high-rent units. In some counties, investors own 20 to 30% of all available starter homes. This concentration pushes prices up far faster than wages. With fewer homes available and no affordability relief in sight, families pushed out by layoffs have nowhere to relocate. This is why even cheaper states are becoming overcrowded and expensive. The crisis isn't just about money, it's about a system that cannot produce enough homes for its population. Small businesses, the backbone of local economies, are hit the hardest in 2025. More than 180,000 small businesses closed their doors nationwide in the first 9 months alone. Restaurants, repair shops, trucking companies, salons, retail stores, daycares, and construction contractors struggle with reduced consumer spending, higher borrowing costs, and rising insurance premiums. Many owners report that the cost of running their business has increased by 25 to 40%, while customer traffic has dropped significantly. The trucking sector sees an unprecedented collapse, with over 3,000 carriers shutting down due to low freight rates, fuel expenses, and lack of drivers. This is especially damaging because trucking supports nearly every industry, from food distribution to manufacturing. When these businesses fail, entire supply chains weaken. Local restaurants experience a wave of closures as consumers cut dining-out budgets. Meanwhile, high interest rates prevent small business owners from refinancing loans or expanding operations, trapping them in debt. In tourist-heavy states like Nevada, Florida, and Colorado, seasonal businesses are unable to survive the drop in visitor spending caused by layoffs. Each closure eliminates jobs, reduces tax revenue, and destabilizes communities. Once a small business disappears, the surrounding area often declines through empty storefronts, lower foot traffic, and rising crime. This domino effect accelerates the collapse feeling in many states experiencing simultaneous job loss, population shifts, and shrinking local economies. As layoffs accelerate and businesses close, state governments suddenly lose billions in tax revenue. Income tax drops as hundreds of thousands stop working, sales tax collapses as consumers cut spending, and property tax declines as foreclosures rise. By mid-2025, at least 10 United States report projected deficits between $2 to $9 billion, the largest combined shortfall since the 2008 financial crisis. States heavily dependent on tourism, gambling, construction, and retail, such as Nevada, Arizona, Florida, and Colorado, are hit first and hardest. To avoid bankruptcy, many states begin cutting essential programs: rental assistance, low-income health care, homeless services, workforce training, school funding, and disability support. These are the very services people rely on during economic collapse. Some states freeze hiring for teachers, police officers, firefighters, and social workers. Others reduce mental health funding by 20 to 30%, worsening homelessness and addiction crises already out of control. Budget deficits make it nearly impossible for states to respond to the surge in newly homeless families. Emergency shelters run out of money within weeks. Public transit cuts make it harder for unemployed workers to travel to interviews or keep existing jobs. As states reduce services, cities are forced to pass stricter enforcement laws, towing RVs, banning public camping, closing encampments because they no longer have the funds to support rising need. This is how state-level financial collapse turns into a daily survival struggle for hundreds of thousands. America's healthcare system enters 2025 already stretched thin, but mass layoffs push it into full crisis. When people lose their jobs, they lose their health insurance, impacting more than 600,000 newly uninsured adults in just the first half of the year. Emergency rooms see a 25% increase in patients who cannot afford regular treatment, leading to overcrowding, staff burnout, and longer wait times. Rural hospitals, many of which were financially unstable even before 2025, face severe staff shortages and funding cuts. More than 35 rural hospitals either close or merge within months. Prescription costs continue rising. Insulin, basic antibiotics, and mental health medications become unaffordable for thousands. Without insurance or income, many people delay treatment until conditions become life-threatening. This leads to higher hospitalization rates, especially among seniors and people living in RVs or cars who cannot maintain consistent medical care. Cities like Phoenix, Denver, Las Vegas, and Portland report emergency rooms at 120 to 140% capacity during peak hours. Clinics that once offered free or low-cost care are overwhelmed and forced to limit services. Behavioral health centers, critical for addiction, depression, and crisis intervention, lose funding as states cut budgets. Healthcare collapse deepens the homelessness crisis. People unable to treat chronic illnesses lose jobs, lose housing, and enter a cycle where medical problems worsen because they live in unstable environments. Without public investment, the system becomes reactive rather than preventive, creating a nationwide medical emergency. Economic collapse always increases crime, and 2025 is no different. As layoffs, evictions, and homelessness rise, police departments across the United States report spikes in property crimes, theft, and vandalism. Shoplifting increases by 40 to 60% in major cities. Convenience stores, grocery chains, and pharmacies install locked cases even for low-cost items like deodorant and detergent, because theft has become constant. Catalytic converter theft, already a major issue, surges again as precious metal prices rise. Vehicle break-ins climb sharply, especially in areas with large RV and car-dwelling populations. Police in Denver, Portland, and Phoenix report 3 times more theft calls compared to 2023. Stolen food, stolen fuel, and stolen propane tanks become common as families try to survive without stable income. But the increase isn't just desperation. When businesses close and streets empty out, neighborhoods lose natural surveillance. Vacant buildings attract vandalism and squatting. Cities with the worst budget cuts have fewer officers, slower response times, and reduced patrols, creating an environment where petty crime flourishes. Importantly, violent crime does not rise at the same rate. Most increases are low-level survival crimes: food theft, vehicle part theft, break-ins for shelter or warmth, and small-dollar robberies. This shift reflects a deeper problem. Americans are not turning violent. they are becoming economically unstable. The criminal justice system becomes another stressed institution in a nation struggling to support its most vulnerable citizens. By 2025, the mortgage crisis begins to mirror the early stages of 2008, but with new twists. As layoffs climb past 750,000 people, more homeowners fall behind on payments. Mortgage delinquencies rise by 18 to 24% nationwide, reaching the highest levels in more than a decade. States with already inflated housing markets, Colorado, Nevada, Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, experience the sharpest spikes, with some counties reporting delinquency increases above 30%. Millions who purchased homes between 2020 and 2022 now owe mortgages at inflated prices and cannot refinance because interest rates remain around 7 to 8%. When homeowners lose income, they are trapped. They can't sell without taking a loss, they can't rent out their homes for enough to cover the mortgage, and they can't refinance into cheaper loans. This leads to a wave of silent defaults, where people stay in their homes until foreclosure arrives. Banks also tighten lending requirements. Down payments increase, credit score minimums rise, and mortgage approvals drop. First-time buyers are locked out of the market entirely. As homes enter foreclosure, they are often purchased by large investment firms instead of families, further concentrating ownership and reducing community stability. The foreclosure wave fuels the homelessness surge. Families who lose homes often move into RVs, motels, or shared living arrangements, adding pressure to already overwhelmed systems. The housing market becomes another casualty of the broader economic unraveling. As housing becomes unaffordable and RV parks overflow, tens of thousands of Americans turn to open land for survival. By mid-2025, tent encampments expand along highways, riverbeds, industrial zones, and even suburban greenbelts. Cities like Sacramento, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Denver, and Seattle report encampment populations growing 2 to 4 times in a single year. What makes 2025 different is the new demographic. Families with children, recently laid-off workers, seniors, and even full-time remote employees who can't afford rent anymore. The new homeless look very different from past decades. Many still have cars, jobs, or partial incomes, but cannot compete with skyrocketing rents. Local governments struggle to respond. Shelters are full, temporary motels are overwhelmed, and many states cut social program budgets due to deficits. Enforcement also increases. More than 10 states strengthen anti-camping laws, resulting in more sweeps, fines, and property confiscations. During sweeps, people often lose medications, identification, clothing, and work tools, pushing them deeper into poverty. Tent cities become semi-permanent because residents have no exit plan. Without affordable housing, stable jobs, or rental assistance, they are stuck in limbo. Nearby communities face tension as sanitation, fire risks, and crime complaints rise, but the root issue is that there are simply not enough homes for the number of people who need them. 2025 becomes the year of the largest internal migration shift in modern United States history. As rent, layoffs, and homelessness increase, millions begin relocating from high-cost states to cheaper regions. States like California, Colorado, Nevada, Washington, and Oregon experience outmigration rates of 8 to 12%, with entire middle-class communities packing up and leaving. Meanwhile, states like Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, Indiana, and Ohio see population spikes as people search for affordable housing and lower living costs. But migration doesn't solve the crisis, it shifts it. As tens of thousands move into small towns and low-cost cities, rent prices in those areas rise 10 to 25% within months. Local schools, hospitals, and utilities become overwhelmed. Infrastructure built for smaller populations cannot support sudden growth. Some regions even declare housing emergencies as vacancy rates drop to near zero. Employers use the influx to lower wages, creating a race to the bottom in labor markets. Meanwhile, many migrants arrive with RVs or cars because they cannot afford a new apartment immediately. This increases vehicle homelessness in states unprepared for it, triggering new laws and enforcement. Migration becomes both a symptom and a cause of collapse. People leave states that feel unlivable, only to bring instability to the places they flee to. It exposes a nationwide truth. There is no longer a truly affordable state left in America. As homelessness skyrockets across the United States, more than 10 states introduce or expand anti-homeless laws in 2025. These include overnight parking bans, highway encampment bans, towing authority expansions, and fines for public camping, even for people with nowhere else to go. States like Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Colorado, Florida, and Tennessee lead the crackdown, claiming encampments pose safety and sanitation issues. But the deeper reality is that cities and states lack the budget to offer shelters, so enforcement becomes their only tool. RV and vehicle dwellers are hit hardest. New laws allow police to tow RVs if they are parked longer than 12 to 24 hours in certain zones. Many cities shorten parking limits or convert previously safe zones into no overnight parking districts. When an RV is towed, the owner often must pay $500 to $2,000 to retrieve it, money most people cannot afford. As a result, thousands permanently lose their homes in a single interaction. Encampment sweeps increase by 40 to 70% nationwide. Cities clear tent communities, forcing people to relocate repeatedly. During sweeps, belongings like identification, medication, and clothing are often discarded, worsening individuals' ability to work or apply for services. Critics argue these laws criminalize poverty instead of solving it. Supporters insist they maintain public order. But the outcome is clear. Enforcement rises while support systems collapse, pushing vulnerable Americans deeper into instability without offering a sustainable solution. Even as wages fall and layoffs rise, the cost of food increases again in 2025. Grocery prices climb an additional 12 to 18%, hitting the hardest the items families rely on most: eggs, milk, bread, vegetables, chicken, beef, and basic pantry staples. Supply chain instability, fuel costs, farm labor shortages, and extreme weather contribute to rising prices. For families already living paycheck to paycheck, even small increases create impossible decisions. Food banks report record demand. Many across states like Colorado, Oregon, Texas, and Florida see usage double compared to 2023. Some food banks run out of essentials early in the week, unable to meet the surge of newly unemployed workers. Seniors on fixed incomes are particularly vulnerable. They spend up to 60 to 70% of monthly income on groceries alone. Restaurants raise prices or reduce portions, further limiting access to affordable meals. Children's nutrition programs struggle as school districts face budget cuts. Many schools reduce meal variety or portion sizes to save money. Rural areas suffer the greatest impact because transportation costs make groceries even more expensive, sometimes 20 to 30% higher than urban pricing. Rising food costs fuel homelessness directly. Families who can barely afford rent end up choosing between paying for food or housing. Once behind on rent, eviction becomes inevitable. Food inflation becomes a silent driver of economic collapse, hitting every household regardless of job status or region. As traditional jobs disappear, millions turn to gig work. DoorDash, Uber, Instacart, Amazon Flex, Grubhub, and independent contracting as their primary income source. But instead of being a side hustle, gig work becomes survival work in 2025. More than 2.5 million new workers enter the gig economy in the first half of the year alone, creating oversupply and reducing earnings for everyone. Drivers report making 30 to 40% less than just 2 years ago due to overcrowding and increased platform fees. Gig workers also shoulder all expenses: fuel, vehicle maintenance, insurance, self-employment taxes, and depreciation. With gas prices hovering around $4 to $5 per gallon in many states, profit margins shrink to almost nothing. Workers driving RVs or vans, which many newly homeless individuals live in, spend even more, often working 10 to 12 hours just to break even. Because gig work lacks benefits, millions have no health insurance, no unemployment protection, and no paid time off. A single breakdown or illness can push a worker into homelessness. Cities with high demand, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Denver, Orlando, see waves of gig workers sleeping in parking lots between shifts because they cannot afford rent. The gig economy becomes a pressure valve for the collapsing job market, but not a solution. It absorbs displaced workers while offering no long-term stability, trapping people in endless cycles of low pay, high expenses, and constant financial stress. 2025 marks one of the most significant declines in the American middle class in decades. Households earning $60,000 to $140,000, traditionally considered financially stable, begin slipping into economic insecurity. The combination of rising rent, soaring food prices, high interest rates, medical costs, and job losses erodes financial safety for millions. Surveys show that 68% of middle-class families cannot cover a $1,000 emergency. Nearly 40% live paycheck to paycheck despite having full-time jobs. Many who once owned homes now face foreclosure or must sell at a loss. Others downsize into apartments, only to find rents nearly as high as their previous mortgages. Families begin skipping vacations, delaying medical care, selling belongings, or moving out of state to survive. Credit card debt hits all-time highs, surpassing $1.4 trillion, as middle-class households use credit to cover basic expenses. The biggest shift is psychological. Families who once felt secure now describe feeling like a single layoff away from homelessness. This insecurity fuels migration, political tension, and social division. Middle-class decline also means shrinking tax revenue, weakening public schools, and reduced community stability. When the middle class shrinks, the nation loses its economic backbone. 2025 becomes the year millions realize the system no longer protects them. And without major structural change, the middle class risks becoming a historical concept rather than a living reality. The truth is, this collapse isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. And if you want to understand just how deep this crisis goes, make sure you watch our next video where we uncover the states preparing even harsher actions in 2026. And tell us in the comments below, what are you seeing in your city?